so for real with me right now. Is this giving kindergarten art project? Is this giving kindergarten art project? Because I fear that it is. In preparation for season 3 of Bridgerton, I'm gonna give y'all the plot of the whole Bridgerton universe. This is only going to be part 1 because there's literally 8 books. And I'm going to be telling y'all the differences between the show and the book as we're going along, because there are quite a few, especially when we get to book 2, but like there are quite a few in book 1 as well. So let's get into it. The first book in the series is called The Duke and I, and we start with the prologue, obviously. The prologue has a lot of background knowledge that at first you're like, why are you telling me this? But eventually you understand like, oh, this actually does have a purpose and this does explain some character decisions. Anywho, we are starting with the 9th Duke of Hastings, and Hastings is one of the largest dukedoms. Yes, it is a real word. Dukedoms of London. They are upper class, very regal, respected, a very, very important part of their society. The Duke of Hastings wants to keep this legacy going, and he is in his 40s and he has not produced an heir yet. That's all he wants is an heir. And remember, during this time period, the only person that could become the next Duke would be a son. So he's only after a son. His wife has been pregnant 5 times throughout their period of 15 years together. None of these pregnancies went full term, sadly. And this is how the book put it, not me, but the book said she knew her role in life. And so 5 months after this warning, she started trying to conceive a child again. 6 months after that, she is pregnant. And as soon as our Duke of Hastings learns that his wife is pregnant, he's like, you are bedridden. You are staying in the bed. We are keeping this child. Nothing is going to happen to it. I cannot lose my heir. Do not get out of bed. Pregnancy lasts the full 9 months. She is in labor, and Duke of Hastings has decided, you know what, I'm not standing outside this door. I'm going to be in the room when you deliver this child, not to look after you, not to take care of his wife of 15 years. No. To ensure that he is getting a son. To ensure that the baby comes out healthy and is a boy. That is all he cares about. So as soon as their son is born, he leaves. He tells them, pull up a carriage. I'm out of here. I'm going to go celebrate. Well, she is not doing too hot. She's not doing too hot at all. In fact, she has lost a lot of blood, and before the night is over, she passes. He is out celebrating, bragging about his new son and how his legacy will continue on. And she has passed. She has passed. She did give birth to a son. That is him. Let me read off his whole name because it is a mouthful. It's a lot. I'm looking at my notes for this one. This is him. Simon Arthur Henry Fitzrandolph Bassett, Earl of Cliveden. We're going to call him Simon because I'm not running through that every time. So we're going to call him Simon. To no one's surprise, the Duke of Hastings is a horrible father. He is a horrible father who is mentally and emotionally abusive to his son Simon because Simon has a little bit of a speech impediment. He isn't able to string together full sentences. He struggles a little bit, and instead of encouraging him, telling him, it's okay, we will work through it, he beats him down. He beats him down and makes him so self-conscious over himself and basically calls him a failure to the point where he looks at his son and says, I cannot bear to look at you anymore, and leaves. He goes to stay at a different house without his son. And I would just like y'all to know that the staff of the Duke of Hastings believes that Simon has passed because the Duke never talks about his son, never goes to visit him, and they truly believe that Simon is not alive. Horrible dad. Horrible man. Horrible. Now you're probably thinking to yourself, wow, Simon had an absent father, his mother passed while giving birth to him. Who did this boy have to look after him? Great question. He had a nurse. Now I don't have a picture from the show of the nurse, so we are using the nurse from Romeo and Juliet because I just felt like that was fitting. This picture is also going to be used for a different character down the road, but I just feel like that's fitting. I feel like it works really well. This woman's amazing. She has helped build up Simon's confidence so much. He's finally able to speak his mind, form full-length sentences, barely has a stutter whatsoever unless he is nervous or overwhelmed. And so to kind of be like, in your face, Duke of Hastings, she says, you know what? Let's go visit your dad. Let's go visit your father and show him how amazing you are in spite of him. Now this sounds like a great idea until Simon actually gets there, goes to talk to his dad, and he's so traumatized from his dad that he cannot get a full-length sentence out without stuttering. He's so scared of his father that he cannot do what the nurse taught him to do. And so his dad looks him square in the eye and says, you are my biggest failure. Oh my goodness. This rejection lit a fire in Simon, and on this day he made a promise to himself. If he could not be the son that his father wanted, he'd be the complete opposite. This brings us to present day. We are with the Bridgerton family. Let's switch sides so I can go through all of them together. This is a big family, so let's break it down for y'all. We have the Viscountess Violet Bridgerton. She was married to the late Viscount Edmund Bridgerton. They had 8 children together. 8. They also decided to name their children in alphabetical order just for convenience sake, because why not? The first child is Anthony Bridgerton. He is now the reigning Viscount. He is in charge of the family. Next we have Benedict, Colin, Daphne, Eloise, Francesca, Gregory, Hyacinth. Now, Violet was actually pregnant with Hyacinth when Edmund passed, so she has no memories whatsoever of her father. This is information that will make sense further down in the books, but it is mentioned in this one. The Duke and I, which is the first book, is following Daphne and her story, but you still see the whole family. They all live together. They are a crazy bunch. Let's go to present day. We are currently with Violet and Daphne, and they are reading the latest Lady Whistledown gossip report. Now, Lady Whistledown, or Julie Andrews, no one knows who she is. No one knows who she is at all, but every week she puts out a gossip column that is telling all of the rumors, everything she's seen, heard, everything to the town. And she's not afraid to expose people either, so everyone in the town is just hooked on this gossip sheet because they need to know, am I in it? Are they talking about me? Who are they talking about? Whose reputation is being tarnished? I need to know. And we love. I would also just like to say that our Lady Whistledown, no one knows who she is. She's completely anonymous, and so that's part of the appeal as well, being like, how does she know everything? Who could she possibly be? And why? But our Lady Whistledown up there, she is an entrepreneur. She is a businesswoman. Because when these gossip columns first came out, she was publishing them Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for free so that the town would get hooked on them. And then as soon as she knew that that was what everyone was talking, what everyone was reading about, what everyone was looking forward to, she said, we're only going to publish one a week and I'm going to charge for it. I'm about to make some money off of this thing. Anywho, Violet and Daphne are reading Lady Whistledown's current gossip sheet, and the Bridgerton family is actually the focal point of this one because Lady Whistledown is kind of shaming Daphne a little bit because this is Daphne's 2nd season on the market, if you will, without a husband. She has not found a single husband, and this is her 2nd season. One of the main differences between the show and the book, because in the show, Daphne is presented and she's the diamond of her season. Everyone wants to be her. Everyone is obsessed with her. But in the book, this is her 2nd season. She has not gotten married yet. Not because people are not into her or think that she's beautiful or they want to marry. She has had so many requests, and she has turned them down because our girl Daphne is wanting a love match, which is very rare during this time. It's also very rare that her family is letting her reject these proposals, aka Anthony, because everything goes through him because, again, he is the new reigning Viscount. While Violet and Daphne are discussing this, we pan to what Simon is up to right now, and Simon is the new Duke of Hastings because the 9th Duke of Hastings, his father, has passed away. So, Simon is actually out to lunch with Anthony Bridgerton because it is discovered that they went to school together. They were basically best friends, best bros, frat brothers, if you will. They spent all their wild days together, and so they know one another very, very well. And he is back in town. Simon and Anthony are discussing how Lady Danbury is hosting our first ball of the season and that the Bridgerton family and the Duke of Hastings, aka Simon, will be in attendance. So let's go to the ball. Lady Whistledown's newest report is talking all about Simon because Simon's a hot commodity. He is now the Duke. He is back in town. Everyone wants to be him, and she is hyping him up so much that he does not get a second to breathe at Lady Danbury's ball because everyone is hounding him. They are wanting to be his match. They are wanting to be the Duchess, and he wants nothing to do with it. He does not want to get married one bit, and so he's basically running away from all these women and just hiding around in all the corners. Guess who else is hiding right now? They're not hiding together, but she is also hiding during this party. Our girl Daphne. She wants to be nowhere near this man Nigel because Nigel has proposed to her once already. She has rejected him, but it has now been discovered that Nigel has talked to Anthony and asked yet again for her hand in marriage. Oh, did I mention that it was within 2 weeks he's proposed to her? 2 weeks. Get a hint. Get a hint, buddy. Oh my goodness, I cannot with this slime ball, but we will get to that later. That is what Daphne's up to. Anthony ends up finding her, and he's also hiding from their mother because their mother wants him to get married, to find a Viscountess, but also to be happy and have a family of his own. We see that Benedict finds them, and Colin. Colin has actually been traveling around the world, and this is basically his first day back into town. Everyone's so excited to see him, but he is avoiding their mother like the plague for the same reason as Anthony. For the same reason. That is A-okay, because Lady Danbury comes over and goes, I know y'all have been hiding throughout my party. What are you doing? Get out there. Go, go, go. We are not chilling in corners tonight. And so all the boys leave. Daphne is like, okay, like I'll start leaving. And Lady Danbury goes, no, 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 not you. I've heard that Slimeball Nigel is looking for you and you can do so much better. You can do so much better than him, so you stay hidden. He doesn't need to find you. Queen. A girl's girl, we love her. And so that is what Daphne is doing right now. Simon, again, is still trying to run away from people, and so he's just kind of roaming the hallways. He's like, you know what, I'm just going to see what's up, hide away from everyone, but also say that I was here. We're just going to be roaming. He hears two people in the hallway, a man and a woman. They're arguing a little bit, and so he's like, oh, I do not want to get caught in the middle of this. I'm going to leave. He turns to go, and immediately as he turns to go, he hears someone yell, no, very, very aggressively. And so he's like, hauling. He's like, oh, I've got to help. I've got to help. As soon as he gets there and he tries to intervene, he sees that the girl sucker punches the guy in the face and knocks him out cold. Now, who on earth did this, you might ask? Daphne. To Nigel. To Slimeball Nigel, Daphne knocks him out because he won't take no for an answer. We love. He's so impressed by her that he strikes up a conversation, and then they devise a plan to get Nigel out of the hallway because she's like, it's too rude to leave him here. Even though he treated me like that, it's too rude. They devise a plan where Daphne will hide out in the library and Simon will go get his carriage. They do this because it will be really improper if Daphne is found in the hallway with a boy. I'm not calling him a man because he is a boy, but it would be so improper, and her reputation would probably be tarnished, and she'd also probably be forced to marry him. Nigel starts stirring. He starts stirring, and he keeps going, Daphne, Daphne, and they're like, what on earth is happening? Like, excuse me? But as soon as he keeps repeating her name, light bulb moment. Light bulb moment goes off in Simon's head being like, oh, you are Daphne Bridgerton. You are my best friend's sister. I really shouldn't be talking to you because I've already been told that you were off limits. I gotta go. I don't want to be married anywho, but I gotta go. Simon's kind of awkwardly there right now being like, do I leave? Do I stay? What do I do? Nigel keeps saying, marry me, Daphne. Why won't you marry me? And he suddenly gets a burst of energy out of nowhere, leaps up, and lunges at Daphne. To the point where if Daphne was not up against a wall, she would have been knocked down to the ground. And when he lunges for her, he does not hold back. Simon sucker punches him out cold, 10 times worse than Daphne ever could have, and they're like, leave him. She literally says, he messed with me, no sympathy, we are leaving him. And so they go back into the ballroom at different times because, again, it would be a little improper if she headed into the ballroom unsupervised with Simon. Simon has re-entered the ballroom, and he is again avoiding everyone except this woman sees that he is standing alone, and so she is flocking towards him. He's trying to leave. She's literally staring him down being like, we're gonna talk. She pops up. She starts talking to him. She's like, Duke of Hastings, we loved your father. So amazing. You're gonna make just as good of a duke as he did. Yada, yada, yada. Here are my 3 daughters. Philippa, Prudence, and Penelope. Our girl Penelope, who was like barely seen in this book. Literally, I think she's seen like 2 to 3 times, which is a big difference in the show. If you've seen the show, because she's one of the main characters in season 1. Not in the book, though. Not in the book. It is also noted that Lady Featherington has another daughter at home who is 10. Her name is Felicity. She's not mentioned in the show whatsoever, and her husband has already passed. That completely gets rid of one of the plot lines in the show. Completely just gets rid of that. But that is A-okay, because honestly, I did not like that plot line, so... Single woman, on the prowl for her 3 daughters. Actually, let me take that back because she's only on the prowl for her 2 daughters. Philippa and Prudence, I don't know which one is which. That could be backwards. That's fine, we are rolling with it. Penelope, they are brutal too. They are like, Penelope's just Penelope. She's put in an ugly yellow dress. That's all everyone's talking about. And he's like, I guess she could be pretty. I guess. Like, that's what everyone's thoughts are, which is just so harsh, but he decides that Penelope actually looks very, very sweet, and so if Lady Featherington corners him again and asks him to dance with one of her daughters, he's choosing Penelope, which is a win in my eyes because we love our girl Penelope. Before he actually is forced to dance with anyone, Lady Danbury makes another appearance, swoops in, saves the day, makes the Featheringtons go away, and brings Simon back to the Bridgerton brothers. Others are mentioning that their mother is forcing Violet to talk to Earl Macclesfield, who is right here. He's not in the show, I'm pretty sure, and so I just made him Chris Pine because I think he's pretty to look at. I think he's gorgeous, and so Chris Pine in Princess Diaries 2 era. That is our Earl Macclesfield. We'll take it. I digress. While they are talking about this, they are like, someone should go save her. Someone should really go save her. Won't be me. I really don't want to run into our mother. Oh, but our mother really scares us. I wonder who should go save our sister. What about you, Simon? What about you? Great idea. That is a marvelous idea. Yes, go, Simon. Go, go, go. While they are talking, he goes, oh no, I don't really want to go save Daphne. They all look and go, Daphne, you've met her? Have you met our sister? And Simon's like, oh yeah, I have ended up meeting your sister. And they're like, how, when, why? All sussed out over this, being like, why haven't you brought this up before? We've been talking for a hot second. You've never mentioned our sister. What was happening for how you met our sister? And he's like, well, I can't tell them about Nigel because I made an agreement with her that this would be kept a secret. And so we're just going to hope that they ignore it, and they do. They literally move on so flipping quick. From all these red flags, Anthony's like, you know what? Let's go save my sister, and drags Simon over to Violet and Daphne. One thing I want to mention is that Violet really does not want Daphne to see or even be around Simon whatsoever because Simon is a rake, notoriously, which a rake is a womanizer. And so Violet's like, I don't want you to have any part of that. But as soon as Simon comes over and flashes his pearly whites to Violet, Violet is sold and being like, status. You could be a duchess. This is so exciting. The town will love us. It'll be amazing. Yes, yes, yes. Simon really wasn't going to do anything about this. He was just like, okay, cool, so awesome. Out of the corner of his eye, who does he see? Lady Featherington with Philippa and Prudence making their way towards him with Penelope not in sight. And so Simon, not wanting to dance with any of them, looks at Daphne, looks at our girl Daphne and goes, do you want to dance? Let's dance. Please, let's go dance. For some reason, the beginning of this chapter actually pans to the next day, even though this scene is not entirely over, and so we go into Lady Whistledown's rumor sheet, but it's for the next day after the ball. The only thing she can talk about is Daphne and the Duke and their dance at the ball, because this was a really big deal. He wasn't talking to anyone whatsoever, and he chose to dance with Daphne, but also Lady Whistledown is low-key savage towards Violet. Like, you can tell that they are not friends whatsoever, whomever Lady Whistledown might be, because she is just plain rude. I don't know how embarrassing it would be for Violet and the Bridgertons if Daphne comes out of her second season unwed. Okay, Lady Whistledown, simmer down. Simmer. Simmer. Even though the book decided to fast forward to tomorrow for literally no reason, we are still at the ball. We are still at the ball. We are going back, present day. We are at Lady Danbury's ball. They are dancing. They are talking. Daphne is explaining to Simon how she wants a love match. This is why she hasn't accepted any proposals. She wants a big family and to fall in love just like how her mother and father were when she was growing up. While she's explaining this, this is actually the exact moment where we get a little bit of insta love. Simon is immediately into Daphne. Immediately. All the green flags. And as soon as this is happening, sirens are going off in his head being like, no, 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 no. I'm not getting married. What is happening? He's having an existential crisis right now. She has no clue this is happening. This is all going on inside his head, but he's not okay. As I said, this is insta-love because they literally met like maybe an hour ago, give or take. Could even be 30 minutes, and he's already smitten, already fallen in love. But this kind of gives him an idea. This freak out that he's going through gives him an idea. He decides to tell Daphne, I know what could fix all of our problems. I have a solution to everything. We should fake date. What would happen if we fake dated? Ladies and gentlemen, we have finally gotten to the plot of this first book, and it only took us 95 pages. Woo! Killing it. Anyway, Daphne is so confused about this ordeal because she's like, you don't want to get married. Why do you want to date me? Simon says, this will give you space from your mother. This will also make you so desirable to everyone in the town because everyone will want something that they can't have. As soon as Simon says that last point, she's in. So, fake dating about to occur. While this plan is being discussed, we are panning back to Violet and Antony is losing his mind right now. He is no longer being cool brother. He is losing his mind and he is shooting daggers at Simon right now, being like, what is going on? This is not okay. Violet is trying to get him to calm down, being like, this is a good thing, this is a good thing, she can be a duchess. And he's like, you don't know him. You didn't spend all your crazy years with this man. You don't know him. Side note, and it's also a little random that the book decides to go here even though they're not even involved in this little scene, but we are talking about the Featheringtons, and this is actually a big difference between the show and the book, because it is mentioned that Lady Featherington actually is one of the biggest rivals for this season with Violet, not because like her daughters are competition, I don't want to be rude, but like they're really not because of their status, but just because they are rivals for some reason. In the show, it's Cressida, but in the book, it's the Featheringtons. Anyway, the book went into that for some reason, but Daphne and Simon finally finish their dance, and Simon goes, would you like to take a stroll with me around the ballroom? And Violet is like, yes, she would love to. And Anthony literally goes, you just walked back. You just did a little loop around trying to get back to us. Like, no, and Violet's like, don't mind him. Go, 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 go. Anthony is like, you know what? Sure. You can go on a little stroll, but I'm a chaperone. I'm going to be your chaperone so that you're not alone in this crowded room of people. And Violet's like, oh, okay, like, you people go on. You kids go on. You go on. I'm going to talk to your brother real quick, and then he'll come and chaperone. Violet knows what she's doing. She really holds all the cards right now. And she looks at Antony and she's like, I wish you would find love. Why haven't you found love yet? It'll just be so exciting when you can have a viscountess and then children and yada, yada, yada. And Antony goes, you know what? I actually don't think I need to chaperone them. I'm being called over here. Benedict is calling me. I gotta go. Now Simon and Daphne can kind of just go talk in peace. Violet is so excited that she kind of won this argument with Antony, and when she turns around to go look at Daphne and Simon and just stare at them in amazement, she's disappointed because our girl Daphne is now walking back with a different man, and our Duke is taking a dance with Penelope. Go Penelope. This is your time to shine, finally. I love that they're dancing together. She needed that. And this concludes the ball. The longest scene ever. It is now a new day. It's a new dawn, it's a new day. Let's get into it. Simon goes to visit Daphne. There are already two men there. So when he walks in, he sees a man reciting poetry for Daphne, which, like, honestly is kind of a slay. Snaps. He's like, you know what, I'll just wait, but Violet sees that the Duke has walked in and goes, oh, how exciting that you are here. And she clears the house. All these other men just leave so that the Duke can stay and talk to Daphne. The Duke has brought flowers, not for Daphne, but for Violet, and Violet is just in awe of this man. She's like, this will be my son-in-law. This will be my son-in-law. This is actually the moment where Antony decides to come home, and he is pissed. He is so pissed that Simon is here and that he is actively courting his sister when he told him to stay away from Daphne. And he's like, what are you doing? You are supposed to be my best friend. You are a rake. And you're courting my sister? Are you kidding? He tells Simon, come into my office. We need to talk. As they are talking and low-key kind of fighting, like actually fighting, Daphne bursts into the office and goes, what on earth are you doing? We need to actually tell Antony, or Antony is going to blow a gasket at this point. This is another difference in the show because the show never lets anyone in on the fake dating. Anywho, you would think Antony, now knowing all of this, would like take a breather, maybe meditate, be like, oh, this is a-okay. It's actually the opposite. He is now even more angry at this situation than he ever could have imagined. And it's not until Daphne explains that in one day, 7 gentlemen have come to visit her, which is more than it has been all season, that Antony's like, oh, this is actually a really good idea. I will hear y'all out. But I have some stipulations that y'all need to follow. Number 1, no one can know of this arrangement. Number 2, you are not to be left alone together. Number 3, if you make any moves on my sister, if I see you brush a hand against her, give her a kiss, anything like that, you're done. And quote, I will rip your head off. Eek. But they agree to these terms. And so now Antony's in on the plan. Simon's like, oh, this is great, perfect, now we'll be awkward at dinner. And Antony's like, excuse me? You were invited to dinner? And so now we're at a new scene. We are at the Bridgerton family dinner. How flippin' exciting. It's chaos. They are a chaotic bunch. And he's just sitting there. He's sitting there, and our Queen Hyacinth, who really does not get any love in the show, but she's my queen currently, she looks up at him and goes, you don't talk much. You really don't talk much, do you? Love her. Love her, love her. There's a little awkward after that, but then we also see Gregory get in trouble because he's not eating his vegetables. And so Simon's like, you know what, I love vegetables. Give me some more. And so he's eating all of them, and Gregory's like, oh my gosh, wait, this is so cool. I'll also eat some more. This is the first moment where Daphne goes, oh, like, he could make a really good dad. Remember this point that I just said. Remember this. It'll come back later and y'all will be annoyed as much as I was, and also maybe repulsed. Anywho, let's go on. Violet decides to end the night by inviting the Duke to go with them on their family trip tomorrow, and this is the highlight of Lady Whistledown's newest gossip sheet, talking about how the Duke got invited on the Bridgerton trip when no one gets invited to the Bridgerton trip. They are on a boat during this trip. There is a moment, and this is the first moment this has happened, where the Duke felt so drawn to Daphne that he thought about kissing her. He was like, if I literally leaned in, I would have kissed her and been the happiest man ever. Doesn't sound like fake dating to me, but like, okay. Also sounds like you're breaking one of Antony's rules, but okay. Oh, and also let me just tell y'all, because I didn't actually go in depth on her little gossip sheet for this week while they're on their trip. Our Lady Whistledown up here loves a good innuendo. She loves a good innuendo, which is a little spicy for this time period. I digress. Let's go back to the boat. Gregory is getting off the boat, and when he is, he kind of slips and falls, which makes Antony freak out as he lunges to go get him. He misses, but Simon ends up getting him. As soon as he regains his balance, Simon falls off the boat into the water. Everyone's laughing at him, but Gregory ends up accidentally knocking into Antony, also making him fall into the water, which is a little reminiscent of the scene in season 2, if y'all know what I'm talking about, with Antony and I don't know that man's name that were on a boat. It kind of reminds me of that scene a little bit, so I thought that was very interesting. But that is how their boat trip ends, with the two of them in the water, fighting a little bit. Oh, and while Antony and the Duke are in the water, Daphne thinks to herself, maybe this fake dating thing isn't as fake as we thought. And then 5 pages later, Daphne goes, I'm falling in love with him. The pacing is really odd in this book. Like, very, very odd. But you know what? We don't have time to go into that because it's time for another ball. Simon has told Daphne that he won't be in attendance for this one, so Daphne's kind of on her own, and she is sulking and sad that he is not here, and she's really not dancing with anyone. Colin is like, why are you avoiding Hastings right now? What did Hastings do? And Daphne's like, I'm not avoiding him, dummy. He's not here. And Colin's like, I literally just talked to him. I literally just saw him. He's here. And so this just makes her day. She's like, oh my goodness, this is so exciting. Let me go find him. She goes to find him. She's like, I really want to talk. Like, let's go out on the terrace. And Simon's like, I don't think your brother really wants me to go out on the terrace with you. And she's like, there's so many other couples out there. Like, it's okay. It'll be like we're chaperoned. And he's like, no, let's not do that. That's a-okay. But as they're talking, a man actually comes up to them. I don't think I have a picture of him here. I don't. Time out, let me go get a picture. Now, I don't know what this man actually looks like in the show, but this is Duke Middlethorpe, and I just feel like the guy from The Hunger Games that plays President Snow fits the vibe that I was reading in this book. Fits the vibe, so that's who it's gonna be. This is Middlethorpe. I don't have time to print out a name tag for him. Just know that this scene's gonna be super quick. It's not even gonna matter that he doesn't have a name tag. But Middlethorpe came up to Simon and is just raving about his dad, being like, I was his best friend. He was an amazing dad. He loved you. He cared about you. You were all he ever talked about. And Simon is like, stop talking to me. Stop talking to me. He's being so rude to this man because, again, he had no relationship with his dad whatsoever. He's like, why are you lying? He literally only talked about me because I was his heir. And when I started doing good things, he was so excited and ready to brag because all he wanted was fame and fortune. And he's like, I actually have some letters from your dad here. Like, let me give them to you. And Simon goes, burn it. Burn it, burn it, burn it. Doesn't even say bye to this poor man. Just leaves. Daphne's just sitting there being like, okay, I don't know what his problem is, but I'm so sorry. And this man goes, here, I need to give you the letters. Tell me your address. I will mail them to you. I need to give you these letters. He must have them. And Daphne's like, I don't know. I don't know if that's a good idea. The first time she's actually thinking for once, by the way. And he's like, it has to be done. I could pass away any day now. The doctor said it's any day now. Which I feel like is a little dramatic, and why is he at a ball? Side note. But Daphne is like, okay, like, I guess I will take them and give them to him. You're right, like, he needs to see them. And so he's like, perfect. I will mail them to you. They will be with you ASAP. Daphne accepts the letters. She goes to find Simon again. She does not bring this up whatsoever that she's accepted them. She goes to him and she's like, instead of the terrace, do you want to go to the gardens with me? I just feel like it's a beautiful night. Let's go hang out in the garden. No, I'm not hanging out in the garden with you. It's unsupervised. This is a recipe for disaster. And she's like, I want to go to the garden. I guess I'm going to go to the garden by myself. And he's like, it is dangerous for a woman to go to the garden by yourself. You will not go to the garden. You will not go to the garden by yourself. I'm going to the garden by myself. It's what I'm doing. She starts walking. He is screaming after her, like literally like, and screaming. He is trampling and screaming after her, being like, what are you doing? Come back here. Stop. Da-da-da-da. She's kind of running away, like being kind of like cutesy and flirty, which is a little dangerous in this time period, fun fact. And he reaches out, grabs her, and there's tension. There is tension in the air. You can slice it with a knife. And they kiss. They kiss, thus breaking rule number 3. And it's not like a simple little peck. No, no, no. They're like low-key going at it in this garden. Who do you think would randomly pop out of nowhere in this awkward scene? Anthony. Anthony does immediately punches Simon in the face. Simon and Daphne are just like, oh my gosh, what are you doing here? Daphne's like, oh, this is not good. This is not good. This is not good. This is not good. And then we have the weirdest line I think I have ever read show up in this book. And I just like don't even understand why it was needed. And so I'm going to read it to y'all because I was just like, why? What was the reason? What was the reason? Anthony looks at Daphne and goes, I saw your, and it pauses. And then we go straight to the book where the book goes, and I quote, Anthony had seen her breast, her brother. It was unnatural. Why was that needed? Oh, that's just such a weird thing to add. Like, no dip, Sherlock, no dip. This is when I started to lose my insanity over this book just like a little bit. Like we were kind of like on an uphill climb and now we're just like rapidly. Yeah, let's keep going. Anthony goes to shove Simon, but when he does, Daphne actually gets pushed. She gets pushed into the bushes, and so instead of fighting in this very moment, like they literally have to like yeet her out. Like she's stuck in a bush. And so they yank her out, and Anthony looks at Duke and goes, you're marrying her. Marry my sister. You guys will get married tomorrow. This is what's happening. And Duke goes, I can't marry her. And Daphne's like, hold up, what? Excuse me? What do you mean you can't marry me? Simon goes, I can't marry her. I'm so sorry that this happened. I'm going to leave. I'm going to leave the continent. You'll never hear from me again. I'm so sorry. And Anthony's like, this is not good enough. We will duel. We will duel at dawn. The horror. Oh no, a duel. And that's that. They will be dueling at dawn. And Daphne is so hurt that he would rather duel than marry her. Oh, and our girl Lady Whistledown, she knows something happened to this ball. She doesn't know what happened, but she knows something went down. They all claimed that they got sick. They all claimed that Daphne was ill. But she goes, I saw Daphne earlier that evening and she looked perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. Day of the duel. Next day, Colin comes to comfort Daphne being like, what happened? And Daphne goes into pure detail. She tells him everything, confides in him, and he's comforting her. He's upset, but he's comforting her, and he goes, well, I knew something had happened because Earl Macclesfield saw y'all go into the garden together. Like, I'm so confused. And Daphne's like, he saw, so that means that he knows that something happened. I'm ruined if he won't marry me. He must marry me. He must know this. This is how he's going to marry me. And Colin's like, the Earl is a friend. The Earl is a friend. He will not tell anyone. And Daphne's like, it's not enough. Others could have seen. And so she's like, tell me now, Colin, where are they at? We must go. We must leave. And Colin's like, okay, let's go. Let's pan to the duel. We are now panning to the duel. Anthony is here. His second is Benedict. Simon shows up. Simon does not have a second. Another difference from the show because Simon's second was a boxer or a fighter or something like that. That's not a plot line in this book either. But anyway, he doesn't have a second. He's just there and he's like, well, this is probably my last day ever, but it's okay. I made a mistake. I don't want to get married. I swore I would never get married. Everybody knows this. Let's duel. Before they can even get in their positions, Daphne comes riding in on her horse and is just screaming, stop! Goes up to Simon and goes, Earl Macclesfield saw us. He saw us in the garden. He knew it was happening. And Simon goes, that's a friend. He won't do anything. It's okay. And she goes, others saw. Everyone in London is about to be talking about this. There are rumors everywhere about what we did. I am ruined. That's not a thing, by the way. That was a pure lie. A lie to get what she wanted, I might add. I told you, rapid downfall. I can't have you be tarnished, but I can't give you what you want. And she's like, I just want to get married. He's like, no, you want a family. You've only been talking about a family, and I can't have kids. I can't. I cannot give you what you want. And Daphne is taken aback, being like, you can't have kids? She thinks for a second, literally 1 second, doesn't take any more time, and goes, yep, not a big deal whatsoever. You're worth it. Let's get married. So we are now planning a wedding. It is wedding preparation time, ladies and gents. Violet decides that it's time for a little talk to happen, a very important talk. And she is telling Daphne, hey, like, what's going to happen to you on your wedding night is your marital duty. Don't be scared. He should be gentle. And then she gets up and tries to leave. That is all she says. And she gets up and she's like, I'm out, I'm done, good. And Daphne's like, whoa, wait, I have more questions. Sit your butt back down, I have more questions. Violet's just like trying to leave. She's like bouncing up and down, being like, I gotta go. And Violet's like, you know what, it is okay. I told you it'll be gentle, it's not a big deal. This is how you get children. Just do it to have children, it is a-okay. Oh, this is where children come from. And Violet's like, yep, gotta go, and just leaves. That is their whole discussion. She knows nothing about what's gonna happen. That's horrible. That is horrible. Anyway, they get married. They're married, guys. Woohoo! Congratulations. What's going on? She is salty and upset because she didn't get an invite. So whoever she is not close enough to this family to score an invite. They're traveling to their new home. Daphne goes, are we going to stop at an inn? Like, it's the night of our wedding. Are we going to stop at an inn? Like, I don't know what we're going to be doing. And he's like, oh, yeah, like, I guess we will have to stop at an inn. Like, no big deal. We will definitely do that. And he literally fakes sleeping for 3 hours so that he doesn't have to talk to her about any of this. That man is wide awake with his eyes closed to avoid her. And I think that that's hilarious. Give that man an Oscar, if you will, because that is so funny to me. They stop at an inn. The guy is like, oh, Duke of Hastings, I am so sorry. The 2 different bedrooms that you requested, it was such short notice, we only have 1. And Daphne's like, 2 bedrooms? You requested 2 bedrooms. It's our wedding night. Why would you do that? And Simon's like, that would be perfect. Thank you so much for our 1 bedroom. Cool. And he's like, maybe we should go eat, like yada, yada, yada. And she's like, it is our wedding day. It is our wedding day. What is wrong with you? I know we can't do our marital duty because you can't have kids. I know we can't be intimate. And he goes, what? Who told you I can't do that? And he's offended. He is so offended that he brought that up. And she's like, well, my mother says that this is the only way that you can have kids. It's the only reason that you do it. And he's like, lies. And we have a let me teach you moment. We have a let me teach you moment for 11 pages. Yeah. Next morning, they leave the inn. They finally make it to their new home. Daphne becomes really good friends with Miss Coulson. Miss Coulson and the nurse are not the same person, but I just feel like they both fit the vibe of the frog from Romeo and Juliet. Learned that Miss Coulson was the personal maid to Simon's mom, was very, very close to her, had no relationship whatsoever to the Duke of Hastings because he really is the reason that she passed. Daphne didn't know any of this. Daphne did not know that he had a speech impediment. He ended up having a stutter. He went through all this. She just assumed that he had a decent childhood because she did. But she never really asked, TBH. But also, he never divulged any of this. But she literally tells him, oh yeah, it was really bad. Really, really bad. This is everything that went down. This is everything that happened. She's so moved that by everything that Simon has overcome, that she goes to bed that night. She tells him a little bit about her day. Not everything that Miss Coulson said, because she was like, he doesn't want to know about that. and she decides to tell him for the first time that she loves him. This is the first "I love you" said throughout the book. This is also during another teaching moment, might I add, and also where she learns that it's not a medical reason that he can't have kids. It is just his choice that he cannot have kids, and this makes her so angry. So angry. She's like, "You lied to me," which he didn't. He never said why he couldn't have kids. He just can't have kids because he doesn't want them. And she's like, "You lied to me. You're horrible. Why would you do this to me? Yada, yada, yada." My least favorite character to ever exist. We'll get into that more again. Rapid decline, because it just gets worse. Explaining why he doesn't want kids and why he can't have kids. It's because he's traumatized and has PTSD from how he was raised by his dad. And she's like, "I don't care. You lied. We can have kids. You just won't let me have them." And I'm just like, girl, you agreed. You agreed to this knowing it. Ugh. Also, whenever he's telling her all about his traumatic childhood, she's not listening. Like, literally not listening. She's thinking about what could do to make this situation go in her favor. Worst character ever, and we will get to that once again, and I'm not excited for what's to come. If you know, you know. Next day, Simon goes to the bedroom. He's like, "Where is my wife? Where is my wife?" He talks to his staff and they're like, "Oh, like, we moved her, your honeymoon's over, we moved her to her own room." And he's like, "Why on earth would you do that?" He goes to her room, bangs on the door, is like, "Let me in. Why won't you let me in?" She tries to get him to leave, and this is a scene that I also really did not like. Again, rapid decline. He tells her that he legally owns her. Which, like, you can tell this is not a modern book. It's not modern one bit, and it is that time period. So, like, accurate, but boo! Tomato, 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 tomato. He's like, "What, are you gonna make me do it?" And he's like, "Yeah, I could." She's like, "You won't." He's like, "Yeah, I mean, you're right, I won't." And he leaves. He leaves her alone. Period. I rescind one of my boos. Not all of them, but I rescind one. This brings us to chapter 18. I'm not gonna talk about this chapter. This chapter is horrible and unnecessary, and I do not know why it was included. This scene was also included in the TV show, which I don't think it was necessary, especially since they've already changed so many things. I think that they really just could have gotten rid of the scene altogether. I don't want to say they improved the scene because the scene is still horrid in the show, but, like, it's really bad in the book. Like, actually very, very bad in the book. And so, trigger warnings galore if you are reading this book and you don't want to read this section. It's chapter 18 to avoid. We're not going in depth. It is so bad. No consequences are ever handed out whatsoever. And it's nauseating to me and so unnecessary. I can't. So one final thing I will add about this is this scene does not move the plot forward in any way, shape, or form. It's just there. Who thought it was a good idea? Horrible. We're moving forward. After this, Daphne goes home. She's like, "I'm leaving. I don't care. I'm proud of what I did because I'm a horrible human being." She goes home to the Bridgerton house. Everyone in her family is like, "Why are you here? Why are you with your husband?" I don't understand what went down, and she's not talking to them whatsoever. She literally admits to herself, in her thoughts, that she does not feel guilty one bit. Not 1 ounce of remorse, or guilt, or even responsibility. Oh, and she believes she's pregnant. During her stay at the Bridgerton house, Antony decides to go travel to Simon to go give him a handwritten letter from Daphne. This is literally the first time that they have exchanged words in 2 months. It has been 2 months since they've seen each other, since they've talked together, since chapter 18 happened. And I would just like you to know that her letter is only 2 sentences. 2 sentences with no remorse, once again. Horrible character. I can't. I would just like to note that this is my least favorite book in the series, and I do think that the books do get better from here. Simon, after he gets this letter, he goes to go get Daphne back. And she reveals to him that she actually isn't pregnant. She thought she was, but her period was just a little late. They decide to return to the house together. When they get home, who is at their house, you might ask? All of the brothers. Anthony, Benedict, Colin, all there. They're like, you have to tell our sister that you love her. You have put her through the ringer. She must know. And he's like, well, I'm not telling no, I'm going to tell her. And so he's like, how the heck am I going to get these brothers to leave? Violet walks in, literally grabs two of the brothers by their ears, yanks them out, makes eye contact with the other brother, and is like, if you don't want this to be you, we are leaving. We are getting out of here. I love her, by the way. She is iconic. They are now alone. He finally tells her that he loves her. He also tells her that he does indeed want to give her a kid. He will have a kid with her. No consequence, Daphne. It's my final time saying that. Daphne also decides to bring up the letters from Middlethorpe that she received without telling him that she got them. And he literally is like, I'm not opening them. Like, me reading them is just going to give more power to my father. I don't care what he said, but I am moving forward. When I'm with you, it makes me forget all about that. And that's the end of the book. That is literally how the book ends. We then go to the epilogue. In the epilogue, it is revealed that they have 4 kids, and they also decided to name them in alphabetical order. So we have Amelia, Belinda, Caroline, and David. Also learned that Philippa Featherington ended up marrying Nigel Burbrook, the slimy man from the beginning. That's crusty. She could have done better. I don't know her personally, but she could have done better. Oh, and for some reason, my book had 2 epilogues. So here's what happened in the second epilogue. Daphne is 41 years old, and she learns that she is pregnant yet again. And that's it. That is literally all that they talk about in the second epilogue. So they end up with 5 kids, but her last kid does not come until she is 41 years old. That is the end of book 1. I, again, did not like this book. I think y'all could tell towards the end that that is how I felt. First time I read it, I gave it a 2.5 star rating. I read this 4 years ago, give or take. It's when the show first came out, and I was so excited over it. 2.5 star rating. Wasn't my favorite. When I reread it this time, I'm giving it 1.5 star. Mostly because of chapter 18 and the last half of this book. I don't know if it was just because I was a little younger than I am now, but it was worse this time around. It was worse for me this time around. So trigger warning going to this book, but also if you don't read it here, I just told y'all everything that happened, so I mean, big spoiler if you haven't read it. Let's now go into book 2, which I liked a whole lot better. The first time I read this book was actually a 5 star for me, so at the very end of the video, I will tell y'all what my current rating is for it now. And also, this book strays so much more from season 2 than the Duke and I did from season 1. Like, oh, we made some creative decisions. And so if you've seen season 2 and you're like, oh, I really didn't like season 2 that much, you're gonna want to stay for the plot of the second book, because I think the book is so much better than the second season. I really think that the book popped off. And I liked the second season. I didn't think it was bad, but they changed some things that I thought was pretty dang good in the book. Round 2, day 2, book 2, we are going to go through The Viscount Who Loved Me, which is Anthony and Kate's story, and this one is way better than season 2. Season 2 made a lot of creative decisions and did not follow this plot line. They did not follow it. Let's go through the plot of the second book together. Also, somehow the setup looks worse than yesterday's. It was giving kindergarten project, now it's giving pre-K project. But that's okay, I'm a reader, I'm not an artist, so let's get into it. This book starts out with our prologue that is giving us all the background knowledge on Anthony and why he is the way that he is today, the man that we know and love from The Duke and I. Ooh, it's really, really sad. Anthony grew up knowing that his mom and his dad loved each other their whole lives. They were obsessed with one another, clearly. They had 8 children. He knew that that was a perfect love match, and that was what he strived to have. He was so close to his dad. Basically, Edmund was the center of Anthony's world, and everything that Anthony did was to impress his father and make his father proud. Right before Anthony was supposed to start school at Oxford, he came home and he sees that Daphne is in the living room crying her eyes out, and he's like, what is happening? Like, are you okay? What on earth happened? And she just keeps repeating, Dad's gone. Dad's gone, Dad's gone. And Anthony feels like he has been kicked in the chest. He is like, what are you talking about? That cannot be true. I literally just saw him. Like, he was in perfect health. Like, what? And Daphne explains, yeah, Eloise was there when it happened. She saw that he got stung by a bee and he just died. And Antony's like, no. I have seen him get stung by a bee before and he was perfectly fine. You are incorrect. And Daphne just keeps saying, Eloise saw it happen. This is what happened. Mom's in there now. It's not good. And so Antony literally runs. He runs to where Violet's at. Violet is obviously hysterical. Antony immediately has to step up and be the Viscount. He has to make so many decisions at this point for his family, for the family affairs, and also because Violet is pregnant with Hyacinth in this moment in time. Antony has to try and calm his mom down so that he can ensure that this pregnancy comes full term and that they end up with Hyacinth, because this is a big emotional toll on her body. Edmund was 38 when he got stung by a bee and passed. Antony believes that he will never make it past the age of 38. His dad was the best thing in the world, in perfect shape, and if his dad couldn't make it past 38, neither would Antony. Chapter 1 starts out with the latest gossip shoot from our girl Lady Whistledown, talking about how much of a rake Antony is and how he will go through another season of girls and not pick a wife. He will never settle on a wife, and so that is what our main characters are currently discussing. Let's introduce them for y'all. We have Kate Sheffield / Sharma. If you watch the show, they changed their last names to Sharma, but in the books, they are Sheffield. I will probably just say Kate, but that is the difference between the show. And then we also have her half-sister, Edwina. Now, both of them are currently in the living room discussing the newest Lady Whistledown paper, where Mary, who is Kate's stepmom, but Edwina's biological mom, is just sitting there listening to them. They are talking about how, ooh, Antony is trouble, specifically Kate. Kate is like, he is no good, he is up to no good, he is such a rake. No, stay far away from him, because both of them are participating in this season. They have made their debut together. They do not come from the most wealthy family, and so financially, the only way both girls can make their debut is if they did it at the same time. So Edwina is currently 17, where Kate is 21. Edwina's a little bit on the younger side, while Kate is a little bit on the older side, but our girl Edwina, she's the diamond of this season. She is who everyone is after. She is the one that everyone knows is going to get married at the end. They all know it. Kate's just kind of here, which is horrible. She knows her place, and her place is Edwina's sister. That is what she says. She is there to look after Edwina, and at the end of the day, she's probably not going to get married. She is aware of that. As the book says, she does not have Edwina's beauty, and that is okay to her. That is okay as long as her sister is happy and ends up getting married at the end of the season. Oh, we also meet Newton, who is the cutest family dog. He is a corgi, and he is troublesome, and just like look at his face. That's the actual dog who plays in the show, and he's just a cutie. The start of the book also very quickly mentions that Kate is afraid of thunderstorms, and this will come into play later, but it is mentioned in chapter 1. Kate is fully supportive of Edwina during her first season, and even goes as far as saying, if you don't find a husband, that is a-okay. Me and you can go to the countryside and just live spinster lives together. We will just be the happiest as can be, so do not settle because you think that you need to help our family out. Which, like, we love Kate. On the topic of suitors, Edwina mentions that she would really like to marry a scholar. And to this, Kate says, I don't know if we'll find too many of those because of where we're at. And Edwina goes on and says, well, Lady Whistledown was talking about how Antony went to Oxford and how he's so wise even though he's a rake. And she goes, hold up. Hold up right now. We are not talking about Antony. Don't even bring up his name. He is not for you. I forbid it. No. Don't even think about that. And she's like, you don't even know him. You don't even know him. Kate's responding with, do you? Do you even know him? Because I know everything that Lady Whistledown writes about him. I know that he is a rake through and through, and he's also never going to marry anyone this season. He's gone through so many seasons not wanting anyone, it's going to continue going that way. During the same time, we pan to Antony, who's hanging out with his brothers Benedict and Colin, and he has a big announcement to tell them. And these boys are like, what on earth are you about to tell us? Because you never have an announcement. Like, what is going on? He looks at them and he says, I am going to marry someone by the end of the season. I am getting married. The brothers nearly choke on their food when they said that. They're like, no flipping way, no shot, this is a joke. Antony's like, I am so serious. Antony's like, it's time for me to bring on a Viscountess. Someone has to continue this family with me. This is where we're going. This is true. These are my 3 requirements for my wife. Number 1, she doesn't need to be pretty, but it wouldn't hurt. Number 2, she doesn't need to be dumb. Actually, the book says stupid. She doesn't need to be stupid. That's a little harsh to me, so I said dumb. The book says stupid. He needs someone that not only he can talk to, but he doesn't want his kids to grow up not being the smartest. He wants his kids to be able to get a really good education and to understand what they are learning. And then number 3, and this is the most important one, the one that he will not waver on one bit, he cannot marry someone that he could actually fall in love with. That's gonna come into play later, ladies and gents. Make a mental note of that. Before Antony leaves Benedict and Colin, he asks them the most important question of this conversation. Who's the diamond of the season? To which they answer, Edwina Sheffield. This should be a fun time for Kate. Time for a ball, and to Kate's horror, she sees that Edwina is dancing with who? Who, you might ask? Antony. She's dancing with Antony. And so Kate is just shooting daggers to them right now while Mary is happy as can be. She's like, this is the best thing that could ever happen to us. He is a Viscount. He'll be able to pay her dowry. She'll have a title. This will just be great as can be. And Kate's like, you don't understand. You do not know this man. This man will not be what Edwina is after. Edwina is after love, and he is a rake. And Mary's just ignoring them. Mary's like, you are a Debbie Downer? Stop it. We need to find you a husband while we're at it. Because this is also your season. We need to find you a husband too. And she just rolls her eyes. She just rolls her eyes and keeps focusing on Edwina. While Kate and Mary are discussing this, Colin Bridgerton comes up to Kate and asks if she would like to dance with him. I would also just like it to be known that Colin has so much personality in these books, and like, where was this in the TV show? I truly believe that they gave TV show Benedict book Colin's personality. Because Benedict don't act like he does in the show in these books. But Colin does. We'll take it. We'll take it. Colin ends up having an amazing conversation with Kate, and they are talking about Antony and how she's like, he's not good enough for my sister. And Colin's just sitting there laughing. He's like, you actually speak your mind, and this is so enjoyable because most ladies that I talk to would just be so nice and flattering and just agree with me over everything. And she's like, that's not me. I'm only looking after my sister. Since Colin is enjoying this conversation so much, a light bulb goes off in his head. Colin races over to Antony and goes, hey, how'd your dance with Edwina go? To which Antony's like, it went great, like this is gonna end up being my wife. And Colin's like, oh, well then you have to meet her sister. She is amazing. She is just this shy little spinster who just wouldn't stop talking about you. And Antony's like, beautiful, that means I'll already have won her over. This is amazing. That Colin says, yeah, and that's really good because you're gonna need to win her over to get Edwina's hand. Antony is like, what on earth are you talking about? Why do we have to win her over? Like, that's not Edwina's father. But as you'll know, Kate is very protective over Edwina and just wants the best of her, and so she is the one who is seeking the blessing and the approval. Colin, while this conversation is happening, is silently laughing to himself because he has told Antony the complete opposite of who Kate is. We all know that Kate is a stubborn woman who speaks her mind, as she should, and he is setting Antony up for failure. To the point where Colin's like, let's go meet Kate now. Let's go right now. And Antony responds with, if she's right there, of course, let's go do it. Colin pulls Antony, shoves multiple people out of his way, in the middle of the ballroom, might I add, shoving people, and goes, Kate, oh my gosh, have you met Antony? Have you met Antony? An icon, Colin Bridgerton. Antony looks at Kate and goes, you are just as beautiful as your sister. And Kate responds with, you are almost as handsome as your brother. To which we have Colin behind Antony just dying of laughter behind him. And Kate looks at him and says, do you need some lemonade? Let me go get you some lemonade. You look a little parched. That's perfectly fine. I will just go and leave this conversation. Colin looks at her and says, no. I'll get it. No big deal. And you know what? You and Antony should dance. I can't leave you alone by yourself. That's improper of me. Antony and Kate, y'all should dance together. Let's do that. Antony and Kate are both shooting daggers at Colin, but Colin is gone. He has skedaddled the heck out of there, leaving them with literally no choice but to dance together. During their dance, Kate explains to Antony that she doesn't hate him, but she doesn't like him for her sister, and that she's very protective of her sister, and at the end of the day, like, you're not getting my blessing. You're not getting it. And as soon as she words it that way, Antony thinks to himself, oh, what a perfect challenge for me. Challenge accepted, Kate. Y'all wanted enemies to lovers, here you go. The next morning, Antony arrives to the Sheffield house only to find Kate because Edwina is out and I believe Mary is upstairs. He has come to deliver flowers to Edwina and Mary. Would also just like to mention, since you all watched this first half, you are aware that this is exactly what Simon, the Duke of Hastings, which where is he? There he is, did for Daphne and Violet when they first started courting. Kate explains to Antony that she will make sure that Edwina gets her flowers and will explain that they are from Antony because Edwina is currently on a walk with Nigel Burbrook, which, as you remember, he is Slimeball. Slimeball of this century. Gross. Ew. Go away. Go away. During this moment, Kate and Antony realize that they've been left alone unsupervised for far too long because once again, this is Kate's season. She can't be left unchaperoned, and so she calls for Mary. She's like, Mary, please get down here, Mary. Immediately we hear a dog come a-running, and who is that? That is Newton. Newton barks a little bit at Antony, but Antony just looks him dead in the eye. Newton just pops a squat and gives him a big old smile. So adorable. So adorable. This makes Kate roll her eyes though. She's like, are you kidding me? Mary makes her way downstairs and mentions that Newton needs to be taken for a walk, to which Kate is like, I will happily go do that for you, not a big deal. And Mary's like, oh, well, you know what, I just really feel like you shouldn't go by yourself. Oh my goodness, Anthony, would you mind accompanying Kate on the walk with Newton? That would just be so great for us. Kate, annoyed as can be, is just like, would you mind accompanying me? That would be so great. And Anthony's like, of course, would love to. They are both so aggravated at this point, but they both agree. They start their walk. It is a little warm outside, and so Kate kind of wants to take her bonnet off. It's a little stuck. Anthony's like, I got you. I will actually help. And so he starts getting like really close to her to take her bonnet off. This is one of the first times that we realize and learn that Kate is indeed attracted to Anthony. She's getting a little flushed and flustered, and she's like, you know what, like, I'm good. Please just get away from me. Please just get away from me during this moment in time. And as if Newton just knew that Kate needed a little breather, Newton takes off. He is gone. He chases after a rabbit is what they're thinking, but they are both running after this dog being like, where is he going? Please someone go get my dog. And Anthony's like, this is a menace. He is a menace. Why do you have him? They're just shouting at each other in the middle of this park. Newton finds his way to Edwina, but instead of just being a calm dog that sits and lets Edwina pet him, no, our boy here has the zoomies. He has the zoomies and he literally pushes her into the lake. And Nigel just stands there being like, you're in the lake. You're getting all wet. What are you doing? And Anthony's like, what is wrong with you? And tries to pull her out of the lake. Edwina's really not mad, but Anthony is furious. He is still screaming at Kate, being like, would you just watch your dog? You caused all this. You are the reason that we're having issues right now. And Kate's like, oh, like, I'm so sorry, Edwina, and I will go. And he's like, no. I will take Edwina home. You will wait here with Nigel. I will send one of Nigel's people to come get him and you. Edwina and I are leaving. And Edwina's like, well, what about Kate? Like, I don't understand. He's like, it's fine. Kate's fine. And just goes with Edwina and leaves. Thus making Kate even more mad. Even more angry at Anthony. When Kate finally makes it home, Edwina talks to her and is asking what her and the Viscount spent the day talking about. And Kate honestly asks her the same thing back, being like, on your carriage ride back, what did y'all talk about? Like, I don't understand. Edwina's really not telling her much. She is telling her that she's interested in him and that she believes that they should finally put the Viscount down on the list of eligible men for Edwina, which it's like, no way. And Edwina's like, please just give him a chance. Just give him a chance. I actually think this is end up working. He seems like a very smart man. He's a Viscount. Match made in heaven. Kate's not vibing. She's like, no, but okay, like, I guess I'll listen to you at this point in time. Edwina also mentions that Anthony might be the first suitor that Kate has not known how to manage. Interesting analysis there, Edwina, and we love. Edwina also says, hey, Kate, like, we need to find you a husband too. I know that everyone just says you're gonna end up being a spinster, but you don't have to. You are amazing, you are beautiful, you deserve love. To which Kate just nods along, thinking that that's very kind, but not gonna be what ends up happening. The next day, Edwina ends up with a cold, which, like, obviously, what do we expect? She was just in a lake. This kind of makes Kate happy because Kate realizes, if Edwina's not here, I don't have to go to the Bridgerton event tonight because Violet Bridgerton is hosting an opera event at their house. And now that Edwina can't go, there's no reason for us to go. Which Mary looks at her and goes, you're still on the market. This is still your season too. We are going. Kate and Mary make their venture to the Bridgerton house. They are in awe of how stunning this home is. They meet Violet, have an amazing conversation. Violet mentions how she wishes Anthony would visit a little more often because Anthony does not live in the Bridgerton home. He left it for Violet and the rest of the kids so that they'd have a little bit more space and not feel like he is just hounding over all of them. While they are discussing this, Kate is thinking to herself, I really hope that Anthony does not realize I'm here, does not notice I'm here, does not even know that I exist tonight. I just want a moment of peace. To which we pan to Anthony's point of view, where he knows the exact moment that Kate stepped out of the carriage because he saw it from his office window and could not stop thinking about her. Specifically kissing her, sending him into an existential crisis. He is thinking to himself, what is going on? This is not what I'm after. I am not after a love match at all. I'm after Edwina, the diamond of the season. I cannot be thinking this way. It's also revealed that last night, after Edwina got thrown into the lake, he came back home and he just dreamed the night away about Kate. About Kate. Seems like someone has a crush. Seems like someone has a crush, ladies and gents. The night is going fairly well. Kate has not ran into Anthony one bit. The opera singer is performing for everyone and she notices that the opera singer is making intense eye contact with someone. So Kate, being a little nosy, turns around and she sees that the opera singer is not taking her eyes off of Anthony at all. And Anthony's doing the same, to where Kate's like, something is up here, something is happening. They've been together. And Mary looks at Kate and goes, stop looking at them. Stop it. Everyone can see. Stop doing that. And Kate's just a little flustered, like, I wasn't doing anything. And Mary just gives her a face being like, stop. I love their dynamic. Oh my gosh. After an uncomfortable conversation with Lady Featherington about how Newton is a menace and how Lady Whistleton went too lightly on the situation that happened, Kate's like, I need a breather. I need a second. She starts wandering down the hallway. She sees that this door is open. She goes into it. She notices that it's an office. As she's looking at everything, she's like, oh, this is Antony's office. Interesting, interesting, interesting. She takes a seat in the chair, just like, take a load off, breathe a little bit. Immediately she hears that the doorknob is about to open. And so instead of standing up being like, I'm so sorry that I'm in here, she hides under the desk. She swoops under the desk and is just gonna stay. Just gonna stay. Entering the room, we have Antony. With who, you might ask? Who is he with? The opera singer. I don't have a picture of her and I should have printed it out, but the opera singer is who he is with. Y'all can kind of get the vibes of why they're in the room, if you can assume. Kate is like, why am I here? Why am I here? No, no, no. Antony is telling the opera singer that he can still have a mistress when he's married because he's not marrying for love. Which makes Kate so angry because Kate's like, that's all Edwina wants. Edwina just wants love. What is wrong with this man? Antony decides to go make them a little drink, which is right behind the desk. Kate is just looking up at Antony being like, don't turn around, don't turn around, don't turn around. He's making the drink. He pauses and Kate's like, oh no, I've been caught. I have been caught. He inhales for some reason where Kate is wondering, what is he doing? What on earth is he doing? We pan to Antony's thoughts and what he is thinking right now is, why can't I get Kate out of my head? Why can't I get this woman out of my head? I am smelling her at this point because mom let her into the house. He's smelling her because she's under his desk, but he does not realize that. And he's just like, I can't stop smelling it. This is the best thing in the world, but why is it here? It won't leave my mind. He turns around. He makes eye contact with Kate, who looks like a deer in headlights, and he's just smiling. He's just smiling, looking at her, thinking, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? He takes a step forward and he lightly steps on his hand, not to cause her pain, but just to kind of let her know that he knows that she's there. He looks at the opera singer and goes, you know what? Let's take a rain check. Please leave. Let's take a rain check. So sorry. I've changed my mind. Kate is literally biting Antony in retaliation for him stepping on her hand at this point. And so Antony is making all these weird noises being like, get out, opera singer, get out. She finally leaves. He pulls her up and asks, what on earth are you doing here? Why must you taunt me? Why are you in my office? She responds with, I didn't even know that this was your office. I am so sorry. This was not intentional, but also like, how dare you speak to me this way? How dare you court my sister when you're wanting a mistress? Antony then gets really close to Kate's face, like very, very close. And he looks at her and he says, I don't think you wish to avoid me. I think you were looking for something else. And when Kate doesn't move, he grabs her, pulls her in, and he kisses her. I would just like to mention that this is the 1800s. This is not allowed. This is unchaperoned. This is not allowed. This is compromising. But he doesn't care. It's happening anyway. She kisses him back. She kisses him back. After a few minutes has passed, she stops, she looks at him and she goes, I'm not going to let you marry Edwina. To which he answers, yeah, I know. She responds with, well, I'm not going to let you marry me. Yeah, I know. If I were to marry everyone I kissed, I'd have like 100 wives at this point. Kate turns to leave because she's extremely aggravated at Antony, and as she is leaving, Antony calls out after her and says, I'll see you next time I pay Edwina a visit. Kate stops in her tracks, turns around and goes, what are you talking about? You just said you won't marry her. Antony responds with, no, I said I know you won't let me marry her. Not that I'm not going to, just that you won't let me. She is livid. She is livid. She is seeing fire. Fire is coming out of her ears. She is angry and she leaves. She leaves, but she's not happy. A week has passed at this point and Antony is at his mother's country house. Violet has decided to throw a private little get-together at the country house. Only a few select people were invited, including the Sheffields. So they're currently on their way to the country house and Antony is already annoyed. But he's annoyed because of his own actions. Because he decided to kiss her, but anyway, we'll see how this pans out. Antony, trying to figure out what he's going to do with Kate being here, actually runs into her in the gardens. He leans down to pick up one of the tulips that she's staring at. He hands it to her and says, I don't think Edwina should be the only one getting all the flowers. Man, he just says the right things. He just says the right things in that one moment. Yes, yes, yes. When she accepts this tulip, Antony actually has the thought of kissing Kate again. Kate has no clue this is what he's thinking, but he is getting closer. Again, Kate is not paying attention. Out of nowhere, who's showing up? Who pops up? Colin. Colin does. Ooh, he shows up and he goes, brother, are you ready for our little family game? And Kate responds with, what game? What are we talking about? And Colin's like, this is our family game that we play all the time ever since we were kids, and Daphne and the Duke have finally arrived. It's time for us to play. Kate, do you want to join us? And Kate is thrilled for the invitation. She is so excited for it. She's a very competitive human, so she's like, yes, 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 I'm so excited. And she goes, let me go get Edwina. I will go get her, you stay with Colin, I will go. This makes Kate a little angry, but she just brushes it off her shoulders. She goes with Colin, she meets everyone. This is the first time that she is introduced to Daphne and Simon. The Bridgerton family plus Kate, while they are waiting for Edwina and Anthony, all go to pick out a mallet, because you have to use a mallet in this game. Tell Kate, hey, this is your first time playing, you can pick first. She decides to go with the black mallet. Everyone stares at her and Daphne says, I knew I liked you. I knew I liked you, and here you are picking the mallet of death. And Kate is thinking to herself, is this a good thing? Like, I don't really understand what this mallet has to do with anything. By the time they're all done picking, they've left the pink mallet for Anthony because they just know he will absolutely love that. Anthony has been waiting for Edwina for a little bit of time. He's getting rather annoyed because she is running late, but as soon as she is done, he's very nice to her about this. He's like, you know what, let's just go. Let's just go to the field because they're gonna start playing with that. I was like, we gotta go, 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 go. Edwina is just like, oh yay, I'm so excited, yay. She's really not, but that's okay. They get down to the field and Anthony sees that he is left with the pink mallet. Not only does he see that, he turns and notices that Kate has the mallet of death, which immediately aggravates him because who normally uses the black mallet? Anthony. That is normally his, and so all the Bridgerton children are just cackling. So excited that someone actually will go toe-to-toe with Anthony in this game is just so much fun. Oh my gosh, Kate is having the best time ever. All the children, if you will recall from the last book, whenever they were doing the family dinner, Simon just kind of sat there quietly because the children are a lot. Like, there's 8 of them. There's a lot to handle. They're all kind of arguing a little bit. Kate joins in as if she has known them for forever. Everyone is in awe that she just fits right in with the Bridgerton kids. Edwina's being a little standoffish, but Kate is there, standing her own, so excited to be included. They start the game and eventually Kate starts getting the hang of it, especially after Anthony hits her ball and it goes way out of bounds. She realizes that, I don't have to play fair. I don't have to play fair one bit. And so the game is almost over. There are about 2 turns left. Kate has learned there is no way I can win. So it doesn't matter if I lose, as long as I make Anthony lose. So when it's her turn, instead of going for the shot, because again, she can't win, she takes her mallet, points it towards Anthony's ball, swings, and makes sure that he goes completely out of bounds into a lake. His ball goes into a lake. There's no shot of him coming back and winning, and everyone pauses, looks at Kate, gives her a round of applause, and says, well, we're done. Game is over now no matter what, because nothing will be more thrilling than this moment right here, Kate. You may have not actually won the game, but like, you just won. Because there's no coming back from that. Good job, good job. Later that evening, it's time for dinner. Kate is walking down. She runs into our girl Penelope. They're talking about Lady Whistledown and how Lady Whistledown always points out what they're wearing. Penelope keeps telling her, well, I would love to not wear yellow, but my mom keeps saying I look amazing in it. Kate tells her, here, my dress is green. This looks amazing on your complexion. And Penelope is just thinking to herself, you are the nicest person ever. Thank you for being so nice to me. And then out of the blue, who do we have? Krista Cowper. If y'all have seen the show, you know her, but this is the first time she has appeared in the book series, which I think is very, very interesting, and she is not nice. She is so rude to Penelope, nitpicking every little thing about her, telling her that her outfit is horrible, pulling people over to her to also make fun of her, telling her that, oh, you know what, it's a great thing that you lost so much weight from last season, and Kate is just staring her down, being like, who on earth are you? You can tell that Kate is about to blow a gasket until Anthony clears his throat, looks at Penelope and tells him, I'm escorting Penelope into dinner tonight, and Krista's jaw has dropped. She tries to say something, Anthony looks at her and goes, was I talking to you? Were you a part of this conversation? Period. Period. Yes, yes, yes. That's basically all we see of Krista for the rest of the book. Again, she's very much in the TV show, not in the books thus far. Oh, and also let me just add that this moment makes Kate start to see Anthony in a new light and realizes he actually is a good guy. She honestly calls him a hero in this moment. She won't admit that to him, but she does. After dinner, Kate cannot stop thinking about Anthony and what he did for Penelope today and just how he actually is a really good guy. So to distract herself, she decides to go to the library. She says to herself, if I'm going to be up anyway, I might as well be doing something productive. She goes in there and it starts to thunder. A big thunderstorm is rolling in. I said this earlier, she's afraid of thunderstorms. She gets so scared that she goes under the table, hides, and just sits there rocking back and forth in fetal position. We now pan to Anthony, who also couldn't sleep because he's just thinking about Kate, just thinking about it the whole time. So he's like, I'm gonna just wander the hallways. That just seems like the best thing for me to do. He's wandering the hallways. He sees that there is a candle lit in the library. He's very confused about this. He enters the room, calls out. He doesn't really see anyone, and as he's leaving, he notices that Kate is underneath the table, and he's immediately scared for her. He's so confused about what is happening that he also goes under the table, holds her, rocks back and forth, and tells her everything is going to be okay, we are fine, everything is fine, and just holds her until the storm has passed and that she is okay. When the storm passes and Kate calms down a little bit, they start to discuss why exactly this is happening. She doesn't really understand why she's afraid of storms, but she always has been. She talks about what happened to her mom, what happened to her dad with Anthony, and Anthony starts to realize, like, we actually do have a lot in common. This isn't something that I can really talk to anyone about, but you really do understand what I've also been going through with my dad passing. And they just have a very good and intimate conversation, and it is mentioned that they are now officially on a first name basis. The enemies are not starting to look like enemies anymore, if you will. The next morning is a beautiful day. Anthony is in an amazing mood, and he's like, you know what, I just need to see Kate. Let's go see Kate. He looks out his window and sees that Kate is starting to walk towards the garden, so he's like, that is where I'm going. As soon as he catches up to Kate, Kate looks at him and says, I will no longer be in your way if you want to marry Edwina. I will no longer stand in your way. You have my blessing. And this takes Anthony back a little bit. He is wondering what on earth changed. And Kate just says, the way that you treated me last night, I can see that you are actually a good man, and at the end of the day, I just want my sister to be with a good man and be happy and taken care of. Before Anthony can even respond to this, there's a loud buzzing noise that he is hearing. Kate honestly doesn't even hear it, but Anthony is just hyper fixated on this, and he notices that a bee has landed on Kate. And he is honed in, freaking out, telling her, do not move one bit, it is okay, calm down, it is okay. He is getting in a frenzy and a panic attack over this because he is starting to imagine the same thing that happened to his dad happened to Kate. He believes that if she gets stung, it will be the worst thing to ever happen, and that is all he can think about right now, and so he is in a panic while Kate is just standing there so confused with a bee on her. She grabs her wrist and she starts to move away a little bit, saying that this could be a compromising position, but as she does that and she fights against him, the bee ends up stinging her. When he realizes that she's been stung by the bee, Anthony goes white as a sheet. And then, just like that, he goes into action mode, thinking, I have got to save you. I'm going to save you. If the bee has stung you, that means that there is venom in you. If it can kill you, that means that there is venom in you. I will get the venom out. That is what I will do. She is so confused, but she can see that he is panicking and not okay. Kind of lets him do his thing. It stung her in a non-proper area, like upper area. So he pulls down her bodice just a little bit and starts squeezing the area because he's like, I can get the venom out, no big deal. She's like, okay, I think it's all out, I think we're good. And he's like, no, it's not, like I have to do even more. And so this is so awkward. Like, so awkward. He says that the best way to get the venom out, instead of him just squeezing, would be to be sucking the venom out. And she's like, no, like what on earth are you doing? No. And he's like, I have to save you. And so that's what he begins doing. And Kate's like, oh, this is kind of nice. As soon as she looks up while this is happening, who does she see? She sees Mary, Violet, and Lady Featherington. It does not look like he is getting rid of venom because it was a bee sting. You wouldn't even be able to see it from distance. It looks like he is compromising her in this moment. And Lady Featherington goes, you have to marry her. You have to marry her right now. Kate is screaming, being like, you don't understand. It was a bee. I don't really know what happened, but it was a bee. Please, I don't want to marry him. Do not let me marry him. He argues a little bit, looks at his mom, looks back at Kate and says, we'll get married as soon as possible. And Kate is looking at him as if he has lost his mind, being like, what are you saying? We are not going to get married. It's not a big deal. The only people that saw it are Lady Featherington, your mom, and my mom. Like, it's okay. And Violet responds with, this happened so close to the house, we can't really ensure that no one saw you from the window or from the front yard or from the backyard. Like, we can't ensure that. And so Anthony just keeps nodding his head saying, we're getting married. We're going to get married. Would you mind giving us a little bit of privacy? I would like to speak to my fiance. So give us some privacy. Lady Featherington is like, don't you think that's a little improper because of what just happened? To where Anthony literally goes, if you do not get this woman out of my sight, she will not have a head anymore. You have to get her away from me. I cannot with her anymore. I shouldn't laugh at that, but she is like literally the most annoying character to ever exist, and she's so nosy. So she kind of had it coming. Pulls Kate a little deeper into the gardens, and she's like, You don't want to marry me. Why are we getting married? Why are you doing this? I don't understand. Yada, yada, yada. He literally shuts her up by kissing her. He is kissing her. He's like, this is okay. This is a-okay. We have a friendship. We have a mutual respect at this point. If I had to marry anyone, I'm okay that it is a friend. So they're getting married. I would also just like to mention that while Antony was kissing Kate in the garden, all Kate could think of is Antony thinking of Edwina right now? Is he wishing that it was my sister and not me? Also, this scene was not in the TV show at all. The TV show decided to add in a stupid love triangle between the sisters and Antony, which I hated. I'm so happy that that is not how the book went. And I wish the show would have done the whole bee scene, because I truly think that this was so hilarious. And I like how they handled the bee scene in the TV show, just with him having a panic attack. But I do think that the extra element would have been very interesting to see on screen. But I understand why they didn't, since season 1 and book 1 was also, you compromise her, you have to get married situation. So I don't think they would have wanted to have 2 back to back. Anywho, moving on. Lady Whistledown reports this engagement. She also mentions that it's a little weird that he immediately swapped to Kate when he was courting Edwina. No one can really say that anything happened or that anyone was compromised, but she is inferring that there is, especially since Lady Featherington has reportedly been so quiet about her time spent at the Bridgerton country home. Has not said a single thing, as if someone threatened her, maybe. Queen that knows everything. Queen that knows everything. The next day, Antony goes to visit Kate, where he finally gives her a wedding ring, and this ring is a Bridgerton family heirloom, and it is stunning. He also asks her how long her mother is going to be out. Into that, she says an hour, maybe 2 hours, and he's thinking to himself, I can work with that. I can work with that. And so they maybe kiss a little bit, just like a little bit. But this action does give Kate a little bit of mixed signals, because he's been telling her that they will have a marriage based on friendship, mutual respect, not love. And then here he is making these advancements on her, treating her as if he does love her, being so delicate and kind towards her, and she's very confused in this moment. Right before the wedding, Mary goes to talk to Kate. They kick Edwina out of the room, being like, it's not your time to listen to this. You will have the same conversation when you're about to get married, but that's not right now. They kick her out of the room. They're having the talk. And she is so much better at this than Violet. She was not awkward. She answered every single question. She explained to Kate, yeah, I was married once before I married your father, and that one was not a love match at all. And honestly, like, I was very miserable because we did not love each other and nothing about that marriage was good. But you don't need to worry, because I can tell that Antony loves you and that you actually love him, even though we are forcing y'all to get married. I can just tell because of how he acts towards you. And so this just makes Kate question everything, being like, well, this isn't a love match. Is this going to be horrible? Is this going to be how Mary's first marriage was for me? And so now she's really nervous, even though Mary was very helpful and explained a lot of things during this talk. Not as much as she should have, but way more than Violet. The wedding happened, and once again, Lady Whistledown has reported that she is so salty that she was not invited to the wedding, and that she wishes that she would have been. Antony announces to everyone in his family that him and Kate will be moving into the Bridgerton house to oversee everything and just spend time with the family. This will be where they forever reside as Viscount and Viscountess. Kate and Antony finally have their alone time on their wedding night, and Kate reveals to Antony that she is really, really nervous for what is going to happen very, very soon. Like, she's extremely nervous, and he can tell because she's shaking a little bit, and so he's trying to calm her down and talk it out with her, but she's very nervous. Antony eventually calms her down, and their wedding night lasts 13 pages. That is their wedding night. Oh, and I'm not going to go in depth on these 13 pages because ew, no thank you, don't want to do that at all. But I will say, while this is happening, he calls Kate beautiful, and it sends her into a mini panic attack. Essentially, he stops everything, being like, what is happening? And she goes, you call me beautiful. Obviously, you weren't thinking about me. Like, were you imagining my sister? Because you obviously were not thinking about me, because I know I'm not beautiful. Which just hurts and breaks my heart. And Antony looks at her and says, I burn for you. Now, TV watchers, y'all will know that the burn for you line happened in season 1 from the Duke. But according to the books, it was Antony who said this, which just makes me so mad, because I wish Antony in the show would have had this moment, because I just think that it works so well for him and their story, and I think that that really is something that he should have been able to say to Kate, because in this moment she needed to hear that. But oh well, oh well. A few weeks has passed, and Lady Whistledown keeps reporting that she wholeheartedly believes that even though they may or may not have been caught in a compromising position, because no one's confirmed it, hint hint, wink wink, she believes that they're a true love match. Antony is so kind to her at all the events that they go together. They're dancing a little longer than the songs. He never takes his eyes off of her. You can just tell that they are in love. Queen knows everything. If she says you're in love, you're in love. Kate and Edwina are spending some time together, and Edwina tells her, I think I found a husband. Kate is so shocked by this and she's like, who? Edwina explains that his name is Mr. Bagwell. I don't have a name tag for him, and also he's not in the show, so once again he's Chris Pine because we just love to look at him. So that's him. Yes, Edwina. He's a scholar, by the way, which, as you remember, that's exactly what Edwina wanted. And he is the second son in his family. And so Edwina tells Kate, I'm so happy that you ended up with the Viscount because I wouldn't have been able to be with him with all the pressure from the family because I would not have gotten a lot of money from this. Like, he probably wouldn't have been able to pay my dowry. It would not have helped us out financially. And this is one of the few moments where Kate really does understand and notice the pressure that Edwina was feeling, that all Edwina wanted was a love match, but she probably would have had to sacrifice that for her family. It's just like a really good sister moment. And then Anthony walks in, he says hello to Edwina, asks what they're talking about. Edwina tells him all about Mr. Bagwell. Anthony tells Edwina that he would love to meet this guy and that he also should probably take over the affairs for her dowry, make sure that it's all settled. And Edwina's like, you would do that for me? Like, I didn't realize that you felt this much responsibility towards me. Like, this is so sweet. And Anthony goes, I would do anything for Kate. I would do anything for Kate and for Kate's family. You're my family now. That's what the Bridgertons do for one another. And this literally brings a tear to her eye, being like, this is the nicest thing you've ever done for me. And she goes, oh, this isn't for you, this is for Edwina. And you can just tell it's not, and that's very sweet. Very sweet. Also, because of how happy that this made Kate, they decide to skip the ball together, which Lady Whistledown notes, because the person that was in charge of the ball noted that both of them accepted the invitation, but they didn't show up. Interesting. Interesting. Later this very same night, it is storming once again. Kate is in a very, very deep sleep, but she does start having nightmares where she is audibly speaking in her sleep. He is so scared, but he also is holding her, telling her it's going to be okay, comforting her, just kind of lets her ride it out a little bit, listens to her while she is speaking. She notices that she keeps calling out for her mom, which confuses him because he realizes that he doesn't think that she is talking about Mary. He thinks that she's talking about her biological mother. When she wakes up, he tells her all about this and says, I think you need to go talk to Mary. I think we are missing a few details about what happened that night, and there's got to be a reason you're afraid of storms. It cannot just be because there's storms. Like, this was more than that. We're going to need to figure out what this is. Kate listens, says that she will go, and asks if he will come with her, and he said, I was hoping that you would say that. I would love to go with you. They go to speak to Mary, and Mary explains that the night that Kate's mother passed, there was a horrible thunderstorm happening. Kate was very little, but she somehow managed to get into the room where her mother was and all the doctors and her father was. They tried to get her out of there, but before they could get Kate out, a bolt of lightning occurred, lit up the whole room, and this was the exact moment that her mother passed. And since it lit up the room, everyone watched her take her final breath, including Kate. That moment has haunted her for the span of her life without her even knowing, and that is why she's been having nightmares. Anthony tells Kate that he is very proud of her for going to speak to Mary and just learning more about herself and trying to figure out what the root of this problem was, and that he will always be there for her during any thunderstorm in the future. And Kate is just so happy in this very moment, and she tells him, I hope that we will be like this for forever and always. The second that she says forever and always, he's in panic mode. Sirens are going off in his head. He is not okay because he doesn't think that he's going to live past the age of 38 because of what happened to his dad. He's sitting there being like, I have promised to never fall in love, and here I am. She's going to end up just like how my mother was during this time, and I cannot do that to her. I have to go. He genuinely gets up, says, I'm so sorry, I've got to go. And she's like, why are you in a rush? Oh, I'm not in a rush, don't worry. Why are you trying to wear your pants as a shirt then? Oh, just don't worry about it, everything's okay, I gotta go. She's confused. She is so confused. We learned that he honestly did not go too far that night, at least for like the first 20 or so minutes. He goes directly across the street. He can see Kate through their window and just sees that she's still sitting there. He doesn't think that she's up there reflecting on their conversation. Instead, he believes that she's just waiting to see if it's going to storm or not. He's like, she's not focusing on me, no big deal, I didn't do anything wrong. Dummy. Scared dummy. The next morning, Anthony is still not home. Kate is very concerned. She goes and she sees that she has a letter from Eloise telling her that Anthony is at the Bridgerton house and he does not look good. In fact, he looks awful. Please hurry. Kate makes it to the Bridgerton house. She thanks Eloise for telling her. She asks Eloise how on earth she knew, and Eloise said that she heard him come in very, very late last night and just waited outside his office to see when he'd eventually leave, and it took him hours and he looked horrid. She's a real one. She's a real one that does not get a lot of book time. A lot of screen time, not a lot of book time. Kate makes it into his office and asks, what happened? Why did you just leave? You need to tell me something. He just says, you need to go. Go home, leave. I need a minute to speak. I cannot see you. You have to leave. Kate is hurt. Kate is confused, but she leaves. A day after this conversation happens, Colin and Benedict come to visit Anthony in his office, and Colin just says, I don't know what you did. I don't care what you did, but you need to go tell her you love her, and you need to go tell her that you're sorry. That is all you have to do. Benedict is just kind of nodding along. Again, not a lot of personality. He's just kind of nodding along. Colin's like, go, 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 go. It's in that very moment that Anthony realizes that even though he might not live forever, he does want to live his days that he has left with Kate and be happy and in love. He races on to try and find Kate. He learns that Kate is out with Edwina and her scholar, and so he runs to the park. While he's trying to find Kate, he runs into Lady Danbury, who stops him for a little bit, asking him all these questions. He's just kind of like, I don't have time to talk to you, please move, I'm so sorry, I don't have time to talk to you. And in that very moment, they hear this loud thud, and everyone's looking around wondering what just happened. And he sees an open top carriage that takes a turn on 2 wheels instead of all their wheels, and in slow motion, you just see the carriage flip. And he is thinking to himself, my wife is in there. My wife is in there. I sent her away. She is now hurt. I have to go save her. He doesn't even say bye. He just bolts. He bolts for this carriage. As soon as he gets there, he sees that Edwina is out of the carriage. She is trying to talk to him, like saying that her scholar bumped his head, and Anthony is just telling her, cool, where's Kate? I need to see Kate. Where's Kate? And Edwina is, oh, she's stuck under the thing. Please go get her. Please go save Kate. He calls after Kate. Kate is still conscious. She's telling him that she's okay. Please just get me out. Like, what is happening? It takes them a really long time to get her out. In fact, like, getting her out honestly injures her a little more than she would have been if they hadn't have gotten her out. But also that was inevitable. Her leg, not okay. It is very, very injured, and she will be in bed for a little bit. After this, he immediately tells her, as soon as he gets her out, that he loves her. He is in love with her. He is sorry for what happened, and he is just happy that she is alive and okay. When they finally make it home and Kate is conscious, because she did pass out right after she got out of the carriage. I don't think I mentioned that, but it really wasn't because of the pain. It's because she looked down and looked at her leg, and it was not okay, and so she passed out. As soon as she is awake, Anthony explains to her what exactly happened, explains the story of his dad and how his dad did not make it past the age of 38. He believes he won't make it past the age of 38, and Kate says, you're 29. You have so much life to live. Even if you don't make it past the age of 38, it's okay. We have so much life to live together. And who knows, you might see 39, and I hope that you do. And what happened to your dad was tragic and horrible, but a bizarre thing to happen that's not a normal occurrence. We will live our lives happy, and we will deal with whatever comes our way. And he is just so in love with her, and that's literally the end of the book. Moving on to the epilogue. This epilogue is very short, and unlike The Duke and I, there's only one in here. The main thing that the epilogue is talking about is how Anthony is spending the last few hours of 38. And eventually, by the end of the epilogue, he turns 39, and he is still here. He is still happy with Kate. They are still very much in love. Oh, and they also mention how Lady Whistledown talks about Colin a whole lot. Like, that is all she is talking about. And they just keep wondering, why on earth would this old lady be into Colin? Which makes Kate think maybe she's not as old as everyone thinks she is. Maybe she's a lot younger and just has all this information for some reason. Hint, hint, wink, wink, because in the book series, it is not revealed who Lady Whistledown is. No one knows. So if you've already seen the show, you're already aware of who Lady Whistledown is, because in season 1, right at the ending, they show you who she is. But during the books, at this point, you have no clue. We have made it to the end of book 1 and book 2. Final rating on book 2 is 5 stars. I really ate this one up. I think that the author did a really good job with the enemies to lovers plotline. That is all I have for this video. If you happen to have made it to the end with me, give us a big thumbs up, because this was a lot, but it was so much fun. And also let me know down below if you want me to do another part for books 3 and 4. And honestly, just the rest of the series. I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. Have an amazing day. Thank y'all for being here. Bye, guys.